We have the Angel Brito with us today, the
Yes, sir.
number one rental agent in Boston.
There we go. Woo, what a generous
That's good stuff.
introduction. Thank you, Mr. Pedro Melo.
Yeah,
Is it Melo or Melo? Did I just mispronounce it? Melo. It's just Melo. No.
mellow,
I said
mellow over here.
Melo. Like I'm trying to switch it up. Um, yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored and to that you reached out to me to have this kind of get
One of my
together. This
favorite agents, bro. I couldn't have anyone else first. A little bit of introduction for the viewers. We used to work together for just about a year at my last brokerage that mainly focused on rentals, specifically in the Boston area, but open to surrounding areas as well. I wanted to talk to you today, just kind of highlight the value to any agents watching this on how lucrative the rental business is and how you can form a whole business around it. For some people, that might be all their business. But I think a lot of people watching, what's beneficial for them to know is that it's something that they can do on the down market. So let's say right now, leading into the winter time, even if the rentals aren't at their highest right now, it is something that you can dip your toes into, and make some good money on your free time. I'd love to start off first with a little bit of background about yourself. You have a really interesting history, and I think it's interesting to see your progression in your life and how you ended up doing real estate, what inspired you, and then kind of dive in deeper into your day to day and see how we can help the viewers out. But if you can just start off with your background a bit,
sure.
I think we'd love
Um,
that.
yeah, I born and raised in New York, Queens.
The
Um,
Yankees just lost though.
yeah, good thing I'm
I was
I'm not
born in New
even.
York too. I'm a Yankees fan. Sorry, but
Oh, really?
they did.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, yeah. I switched over to the
Wow.
Red Sox only when the World Series era when they had all the Dominicans on there because I got to
Yeah,
represent my people.
yeah.
But they kicked us all off, so
Right. So now
I'm off
you're like
that.
back to New York, the Yanks.
I'm with the bad guys, but we lost them.
And any I tell people all the time, I'm like, I grew up in Queens actually, so I'm a Mets fan first, like if I had to choose.
True,
So
true.
yeah.
I forgot they had two
But
teams over there.
yeah. It's too bad I heard it was close to being a Subway series. That would have been awesome. But anyway, so yeah, I went to actually my background. I did go to college for advertising and graphic design. I want to I say that and I mention it only because it does kind of come back around to helping me build my business. And so I did a bunch of like retail kind of jobs here and there. Um, took took my hand at like
Worst one.
what's that?
Which was the worst retail job? The worst one.
I was
Shout
one
them
of
out.
those. Yeah, shout out to the Spritzer boys.
What's
In
that?
like the you so you go to a department store, they have the
Yeah.
fragrance section.
You were that annoying guy in everybody?
Yep. I was like, come back here, come back here, come back. No, don't go away, don't go away. That was me. And actually that, looking back, I mean that kind of set me up for that. We worked off commission. We worked off commission. So that kind of also primed me a little bit for the sales. And that um yeah, just I guess for lack of a better term, kind of that hustle.
Yeah.
Um, but that was in my early mid 20s. So I did that for a few years. Obviously, I wasn't really thrilled about a long-term career in retail because it's kind of limited and very, 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 very.
You know what's interesting though? The little experiences like that take you out of your normal comfort zone. So just like chasing people down in the mall and spraying them with some cologne or some perfume,
Yeah,
that little bit of being uncomfortable, it's interesting how that snowballs later on, to get you to where you are now. And,
yeah,
and, and how most salespeople's introduction into sales was something like a little summer job or something out of the ordinary they did. So that's interesting there. Yeah.
yeah, Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. It was, like I said, it was, you learned the importance and concept of commission. And like that was burned, seared into my head, from the managers, like, hey, you got to put up the numbers, you got to do this. And, eventually you kind of understand it, learn to appreciate it. And obviously, if you ever do anything commission based, that's exactly, kind of where you need to be mentally motivated, always, always just on the grind. So after that, I kind of like bounced around like little things here and there. I wanted just a more secure. I wasn't really thrilled with retail specifically. I always enjoyed the thing that I always enjoyed about retail though was the people aspect. I think that's what pulled me back into a people kind of industry. Eventually, it was around 2008 where I kind of just um I did a big detour in my life where I basically took up a job in Thailand as a teacher, and um, the idea was I work there and then come back when the job market was better. Um, but I never came. I ended up staying for like 7 years. So it did was a
That's
big
crazy.
yeah, it's a big kind of detour. I mean,
So
I got to
to
see
pause
the
you there, 'cause that's a big deal. That's a huge deal right there. So obviously,
yeah
2008 was a bad financial year for the U.S. Kind of financial collapse down here. So you had the idea, let me go somewhere completely different. Kind of do my thing over there, and then to come back. What inspired? Like, how did that even come to be? Like, people don't just wake up thinking, I'm gonna go
yeah.
teach in Thailand right now. Like,
Well,
where does that even come from?
so it was really bad in 2000. I mean, I don't know if you remember it or how well you remember it. 2008, you were probably still like in high
I
school
was a
or
little
something.
kid. Yeah,
Yeah, you weren't even in high school. You're probably
I
grade
was
school or something.
13. I was 13.
There you go.
Little baby,
Well,
little boy.
you're a little baby boy. You're still not even thinking about, this or that. And but your man right here was you know, 28 years old, like my late 20s, and so like I'm getting close to 30, and so I'm at a point in my life where like, holy crap, I'm almost 30, and I'm like kind of scrambling around, and it was really bad. Anybody that's listening right now that was looking for a job in 2008, like it was rough. It was rough. So, there was no, any industry that I was trying to go into, it was like, there was nothing in graphic design, nothing in marketing, nothing here. I mean, I I took a fireman's test. I I took I took a test, believe it or not, to be NYPD. I mean, I would have taken. In other words, I was pretty desperate. It was really bad for me to be, taking a job as a police officer. It was really bad.
So I mean, you
So
were at the same age that I'm kind of at right now. I'm 29. Thinking about my 30s and just trying to position myself as best as possible for the future. But it seems like at that time you're kind of just trying to find your identity, find what it is that you're going to be doing, and who is Angel at this point.
yeah, so I knew that it definitely wasn't retail. Definitely not going to be, one of these, these guys. I see some of them, you know, in their 50s getting canned for like an infraction, or their knees are starting to go, or like they're just like not. Just wasn't. It wasn't me. Nothing against it. They
Yeah.
work very hard, and nothing against that. But just I couldn't. I didn't see myself. So I ended up getting accepted into the NYPD class of 2009. But if you remember and you're paying attention, I took the exam in 2008, and they told me, okay, great, you passed the psych, you passed the physical, you passed the written, come back next year. And I'm like, what do you mean come back
What do
next year?
you
They're
mean?
like, what do you mean come back? I need a job right now. I need bills. I need money right now. That took me like I was just like, oh my God, like I can't win. My sister's in education, and she had actually taught abroad in Asia the year before.
Okay.
And so she gave me the idea. She's like, well, why don't you teach, abroad, And she's like, make a little bit of money, travel, and then next thing you know, it's next year. You got a nice little tan, come back, and then you pick up where you left off, right? But like I said, it didn't work out that way. I fell in love with the country. It's amazing people, amazing food. I mean, you're living an amazing, like the quality of life. It's not like I was making tons of money, but the quality of life, I'd never experienced anything like that in my life before. So I was living very, comfortably within, and I was able to travel and do things that you're supposed to do as a human being, enjoy life. So
Whoever's watching this right now is quitting real estate and looking
yeah,
up tickets to Thailand.
how do I retire in 2 days?
So like, that guy read my mind. What am I doing?
I should start like a side like businesses, like setting people up
Travel
in
agency.
Thailand for travel agency. But that took me on a 7-year kind of, I guess, journey. I lived there, was loving it. Fast forward 7 years, and I'm now in my mid-30s, and that's an interesting kind of time in your life too, because now you're like, those are like, they say that your money making years are what, between like 35 and 45 or something like that. Like
Something like that, yeah.
that's like when you're punching. That's when you got to be like
You're mentally at max capacity. You're physically there. You made the connections.
Right. And so I'm like, I had him, I'm like, damn, I'm out here 7 years. Like I need to figure out what's going to be like what are the next 10 years looking like? Like, is it going to be here? Am I just going to settle down here, get myself like a little lady, have a family, just, this is where I end up. And I think I kind of was looking for a way to transition back to the States. Mind you, 7 years is quite a bit. So job market's different, culture is different, everything is different. Where do my skills, how are they applicable back if I go back to the States, and I made a connection in Thailand to the next chapter, which is Boston, that pulled me in. So it does tie back together. The one of the guys that I worked in a program with when I first got to Thailand was a guy who's been doing real estate in Boston for right now 20 plus years. But he started as soon as he was old enough to do real estate. He got his license. He started when he was 18, and he just hustled like a madman. And I think before a little after 30, he already had multiple properties under his belt, from knowledge, experience, patience, smart, astute. You could say he's kind of like a mentor in a way. I probably got almost 10 years on him, but he's still like, just a savvy dude. That I met him in Thailand, and he for years was trying to get me to Boston. Hey, you got to come to Boston. Hey, you got to come to just to break into the business. This is before he had an office set up in Boston. He had been trying to get me to work alongside him. Oh my God, you do great. You're great with people. You crush it. You'll do great. Like ba 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 ba. For years and years and years. Every time he would come out to Thailand, dude, you gotta come. You gotta come. You gotta come. Relentless. And then finally, I was like, I'm like, well, this would be it. This would be my, I've always kind of had a strong interest in real estate. I just didn't know where to start, honestly, and things came up and took me in different directions. And I was like, yeah, I could do this. I could definitely do this and set my mind to it. And, if everything he's saying is true, I can build something substantial. I can build something worthwhile, when I go back. And in 2016, That's when I made the move back to the States. First time in Boston. I don't think I've ever been to Boston, even not once before I moved. I'd
Yeah,
never been to Boston, never visited, didn't know anybody. He was the only person I knew in Boston. And I said, let's go. And that was 8 years ago, something like that.
that's crazy. So I mean,
Yeah.
just to highlight something, it seems like you have that winner mindset of thinking, what do I want in the future? What do I want in the next 5, 10 years? How do I want to paint this picture? And then consistently just put it in actions to get you, to where you want to be, or kind of try to figure it out. So, kudos to you for that. Obviously, you mentioned back in the in the retail space, a lot of people that not get stuck but choose to do that sort of work long term. And as much as they love it, I always pin it down to a lot of people get comfortable. You find a lane and they stick with it. I'm the guy that gets on the highway. If I see that middle lane's open, I can move forward. Then I'm doing that. You kind of seem the same way, and I think you're making some bigger jumps to me because you're willing to move all the way to Thailand. That's a little bit past me, but uh, so you do that. That's crazy. And then not only you don't just come back, you make a whole another big move into Boston, somewhere you've never been before. You don't know anyone out here. This is just all fresh to you. And at this point in time, you're what? You're like 36, 37?
Mid 30, 2036, yeah, 35, 36, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not make or break because you still had a bunch of life left and you still do.
Mm.
But it's a big deal, like making that decision when you're 36 to move into Boston and start this whole new journey. It's almost a bigger decision than when you're late 20s moving over to Thailand. Because
Mm.
obviously time is limited, and you have goals that you want to achieve. So you come down into Boston. You have this one connection out here, which, just talk about that a little bit. That's all it takes for you to change your life. Aside from your own actions, it's
Mm.
you'll usually hear it from people that have made it anywhere in life, that it
Mm.
started with that one connection with that one person that they met, and then that kind of just snowballed into more and more.
Yeah.
How was your experience when you came down here? Did you end up working side by side with him, or how did that turn out?
Uh, no, in a word, no, not really, because he was more behind the scenes. He has several other businesses as well. He'd
At
be
this point, he
there.
has he has income properties. He has his money rolling. He's
He's
doing
doing,
stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Uh, I mean, yeah, at that point, he has like multiple properties, different business partners, different businesses. He's doing like he sees an opportunity, he's jumping on it.
he's moving. He's moving. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he has like, I don't know if you know this, but like a bakery. He has like, he was looking at, um, obviously development properties but basically like he's just a sharp dude. So if even he's not intimidated, even if he doesn't know he didn't know anything about a bakery business, but he's just like the numbers made sense and he jumped
he's
in.
a
So
go
I was
getter.
like, right.
Absolutely.
But no, I didn't have. It's not like I was like shadowing him. It's not like I was working directly with him. But if and when things did come up and I did need his help, he was there. Like
Still
he would,
resources.
yeah, for sure. Like if I brought, like when I made my purchase of my first property, he was, he kind of like he checked it out and he kind of, he just kind of guided me, gave me his 2 cents and like basically um kind of walked me through it a little bit. Um, Offered what he could at that moment. By then, I like, you know, that was already years of doing this business, so I kind of already had like an idea of what I needed, if it made sense, and but he gave me like, the stamp of approval. Um, but yeah, just a great resource for sure, a great resource for sure, and always trying to look out for his people. Yeah,
We need a lot of people like that in the world.
yeah. He's very like open, kind of big heart, big, very open with like his like he wants to see people also,
elevate with them.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, so yeah, he's one of those people. Yeah.
It's only lonely at the top if you don't bring people with you.
That's it. I like that.
That's
I
it.
like
You
that.
like that one, right? I just
I
brought
like
it.
that.
Quick
Yeah,
with it today.
yeah.
All right. So bring you back. Boom. So about 8 years ago, you started real estate right in Boston. You never did it before. You didn't sell anything in Thailand. You didn't do it back in New York. So it's fresh for you. It's a fresh journey. Did you at that time were you is the kind of same thing you're focusing on rentals? That's what you came in on?
Yeah, yeah. The idea was just to start with rentals, and eventually work up to sales. That clearly like never really happened, but I want to say that's on me partially.
It's in progress. It's in progress.
Yeah,
You're only growing every year, buddy. So let me ask you this. So you came into the rental with something fresh. Where were your expectations? And then how did reality turn out? Like what did you think, what did you expect?
I knew that there was potential to grow. I knew there was potential to make money. How, when, and what that looked like was always up in the air. You know what I mean? Um, my first few years were, uh, there was a lot of learning. There was so much learning. Like the amount of things that you need to wrap your head around and learn how things work in this industry is like you need to go to like a get a degree, honestly, to like learn how this stuff works. It honestly, like, there's so many little things, how to approach property managers, how to approach superintendents, how to, everybody has their different systems for the same thing. There could be 20 different ways to submit an application. There could be 100 different ways to do lease paperwork. There could be 100 different ways to submit money. Some people all want just one check. Some people want each check differently. And then, you have to learn that like every landlord has different names for each different LLCs for each property, and all that like stuff you need to kind of figure out, sort of. Your
You're expected
broker,
to know, you're the professional.
yeah, and you could only hound your broker down so much before they're like, before it's like it's in the email. It's in that like that became like a famous like line in the office, like it's in the email, it's in the email, it's in the email. It's like it's in the email.
Read the emails.
Read the email. Just read the email. It's in the email.
I think this
But
part's very important to highlight as well. So, a lot of the people that aren't involved in rentals right now, but that do want to get involved in rentals, the first thing that usually comes to people's mind is an independent landlord, you know, Joe Schmo next door that has a triple decker. One of his long time tenants is moving out, and he's like, "Oh, Angel, you're a real estate agent. Can you just rent this out?" So a lot of people just have their mind wrapped around rentals as, a one-off unit here and there, just off of landlords. But people, really doing the rentals and rolling out some volume, have learned to team up with as many property managers as possible, in their area, and kind of be able to control these different buildings to control the market and their surrounding available units. So obviously, you worked in it a long time, and a lot of the work is done by brokers. Um, but can you kind of explain to the viewers like how simple or difficult that is to get connected with these different people and offer your services, and what that kind of entails?
when you say get in touch with, you mean the brokers to the owners or the clients to the brokers?
Yeah. So let's say you're a fresh agent. You want to start working with rentals in your area. I recommend those people to contact their local, apartment complexes, get in touch with whoever's representing them, and
Mhm.
seeing if they can involve themselves in the process of leasing out those units.
That is one of the toughest things to do if you are strictly like a rental office, is how do you create new relationships. Luckily, when our office started, they made sure that they had a decent enough portfolio of owners to even make the business last as long as it has. Because if they had any less, it just would be kind of tough to make sure everybody was, you know, getting that there was enough inventory. There's different kinds of landlords. A lot. So, in other words, I walked into a situation where the relationships were already there.
They're
Okay, established already, and all we needed to do was just make sure that we maintained them and kind of keep them happy, make sure that we're producing and make sure that we're bringing them quality business and tenants. So to make new connections and like completely new relationship, that is probably one of the more challenging you know uh, things to do in the business. um, I would say in my experience, it's something that you kind of sort of pick up along the way. Like any owners that I've worked with directly, it's like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like, can you help me, with this one property, or can you help me with this? You know what I mean? Um, it's with private owners. Private owners are like one type of client, and like a landlord that has like a unit with 50 plus units in the whole building, that's another like level of landlord. And they're in that situation. If it's not an open listing, then um, it's and they only work with like a handful of offices. Those can be a bit more challenging to kind of break through and kind of have them. But it's something that for sure. I don't think it's not easy because it's basically saying like, "Hey, how you doing? You have no idea. I'm off the street, and like, but I want to get in your business." You know what I mean? And it's a very tight knit kind of business in that specific space in real estate. You know
right.
what I mean?
So it's really about building the relationships and kind of related to residential sales, transactions in general. It's almost the equivalent of finding someone that's willing to allow you to list their home for sale.
Very
Obviously,
much so. Yeah.
you know, it's a responsibility. They want to make sure that whoever they in charge to do that can actually perform. So most property managers don't want to deal with offices that they think aren't going to be organized or aren't going to market their properties as best as possible, or run them into any liability problems later on. So there's a lot of factors that go into
Yep.
A property manager allowing you to rent out their units, because for a lot of people listening, they're just going to think, oh, why wouldn't he want me to rent out his unit? But someone's giving you access to their units, keys, working with their tenants. It's a big responsibility, and obviously, you're positioned, in the city in Boston. So for someone like me out here in Foxborough or in Mansfield, there's a lot less competition. There's a lot less, amount of agents that are looking to do business through different complexes and offering their services. So in an area like mine, for example, it might be simpler for me to send out that email or that phone call to a leasing agent and see if they have any compensation, or if I'm able to obtain that direct my client. But when you go into Boston, a lot of these property management teams have their exclusive contracts with different agencies and people that they know are going to perform and that they've had a history with. So kind of getting your foot in the door with more established property management teams can definitely be a challenge. Obviously your office that you work with now is mainly predominantly focused on rentals. So you have the I don't want to say it's luxury, but it's great that you've been able to kind of go in there, work with established relationships, and focus more so on the actual job itself of renting out the units. Um, so to kind of fast forward a little bit, you went into Boston, you started this new journey of rentals. Uh,
Mhm.
how many different brokers did you work for before you ended up where you are now, or is this the first team you worked with? Kind of give us a little insight on that.
So this is my I'm too faithful. It's been my first and only
Good,
office.
that's good.
I'm always very interested in talking to other agents whenever there's like some kind of industry event. I'm always like picking their brain. What's it like at your office? How do you guys do that? Like, I'm always trying to just hear about their experience because I only have one office to compare that to. Um, and you talk to agents. I mean, any other agent that's been doing this for like close to as long as I have, they've ran through so many offices. I've been here, I've been there, even sales. Oh, I worked at here, Remax, Real, this, that, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it, it's a good thing, but yeah, for sure. Like, I'm also a believer in like, you know, obviously, like, I'm not scared to jump and bounce around. Um, and yeah, there's something to be said about that for sure. It's just the office. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times too. I'm the type person I like to pick who I'm going to work with because I don't like just working with someone that's going to make me money. I like working with people that I want to work with. That's always been really important to me. And most of the teams that I've joined, I'm staying there until the wheels fall off.
Mm,
So I think that a big reason that the agents leave their office is because they're determining their individual success on what the office is doing for them. So as soon as they, are failing in their goals, the first thought is the office is broken. As soon as I leave this office, something is going to magically change once I go over to the next place. And
hmm
I think they're kind of riding that same crazy ride and jumping from office to office, expecting something to be different. When
hmm
in actuality, what they need to work on is right there. It's themselves.
hmm
I'm always a firm believer if you're winners always win. If you're a winner, you're gonna go even into the losing JV team, and you guys are gonna be winning in varsity because you're that guy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just take one person. It's building up everyone around you to make sure that you're in the winning circle, right? And I think that's what some people lack, and it's something that, especially as real estate agents, we're allowed to we're encouraged to interact with agents in other offices, build relationships, kind of just network all around.
hmm
To kind of have this big network of agents that work with each other rather than just focus on your individual office, which is great. Some people watching know my history is in car sales, and you do what your house is doing right here, and you don't look left or right. You don't sell any secrets. You do this. With real estate, there's not really a limited pot. There's more apartments, more homes being built every day, and the better job we do as a collective, the more business there's going to be all around for everyone.
hmm
Um, but all right, to kind of bring you back, so you've been with the company you're in right now. You're a loyal man. Um, when you started there, that's kind of when that office was first opening up. So you're
Yeah.
one of the first agents there, right?
hmm
What were kind of the struggles? Well, first of all, where was your mindset at joining this office that's kind of just starting off? Were you excited to be part of that? Were you kind of reluctant and worried? Where was your mindset, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, no, I was excited to be honest. I was starting a whole new chapter in my life. So I was very excited, very motivated. And I was very driven. I was like, I'm gonna be, you know, the one that stays here the latest. I'm like closing up shop. I'm the first one in, last one out kind of mentality. Um, and I'm gonna try to learn as much as I can. And so again, it's one of those jobs where there's so much systems and information you kind of just need to soak up. And luckily, I was very much single at that time, and you know,
Well,
uh,
keys to success.
yeah.
Don't have a home life. Don't have someone waiting for you at home, texting you like, "Where are you?"
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm obviously like, I have a kid now, so it's a bit more, it, kid, I can't imagine starting a new, I'm also just in a completely different point in my life right now, but it doesn't hurt to be like completely single and like not have to, you don't have any, I mean, even having a dog waiting for you to feed dinner,
Yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
that, like,
Any
I
outside
was
responsibility, it's
exactly.
something. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So good, very, like, if you're that type of person that can like just jump into their work and like basically just like put the blinders on and stay
yeah.
focused, then it could be worth jumping into starting in this career. If you have like a new kid, if you have like a kid, it'll be kind of tough if you're open to it. But anyway, I so I was really like I was busting my ass. I mean, I was there. I was the guy there every single day. Every single day, every single, and it was it was a good time actually. The guys at that point, everybody was kind of new, fresh, excited.
How many
Um,
people? How many people were there? Like, kind of paint out the picture for us.
let's see, there was I'd say about like core, like probably 4 or 5 core people. And we became very close actually because we spent so much time together, and yeah, you would just some good camaraderie was built, and um, it was good times, good times. What
North Main Street. Two North Main Street.
get some
We had a DoorDasher coming in here. I thought I had some food. I'm like, wow, man.
oh
I didn't
man,
even order this. I thought it was a little gift from Angel.
oh, how that would have been amazing. How that would be some really
I'm like,
pimp,
this guy's sales game
um
is intense.
right?
He's sending me
Like,
lunch.
hey, I got taking care of dinner on the
Dinner.
podcast. Um, but yeah, you know, didn't meet. I was told that after the first year, I look at my tax returns and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, eh. Second year, I mean, it was more, but it was still like, eh. Like,
Yeah,
was it worth it? That's debatable. That's whatever. But again, it kind of goes back to what you were saying. Like, you get what you put in, or you kind of like you work with what you have, and you're a winner, whether you're here or there. A winner's going to figure out a way. Um, and eventually, I hit my stride. I think maybe in year 4 or 5, where things kind of just took off, and I was, you know, um, did did all right. I did all right, and yeah,
now the rental business today is completely different than it was 5, 7 years ago. You've obviously seen, rent prices just hike straight up. It's a crazy,
yeah,
unimaginable numbers. Commissions are through the roof. Obviously more competition. As there's more money, there's more people trying to get that um, piece of their pie. What did it look like when you were working 7 years ago, or even when you hit your stride? 4 or 5 years ago, or 3 or 4. You know, what were the rentals looking like? What was the commission looking like at that point, and how's that changed?
Well, every office has like a different commission structure. It's what you negotiate going in. Um,
But kind of as far
so
as like, so right now, the typical, rental, landlord's paying out a month, or the client, or whatever it is that's going on. But typically, 1 month rent is the fee, right? Rent now on average can be whatever it is in Boston, $2,500, $1,000 for like a one bed or whatever's going on. I'm assuming 7 years ago it was drastically less. Were you guys still charging a 1 month fee, or like
yeah,
how's that structure?
it's always been 1 month, um, regardless of who pays it.
Yeah,
I mean, you already know that some landlords, might pay half of it. They might pay the full. Um, Typically in Boston, uh, like Boston proper, landlords do not need to historically to pay the broker fee because of the supply and demand. They just don't need
right,
to, because
right.
right. But I know that like in New York State, it's based on a percentage. It's based on a percentage in New York State. I think it's like 10% of like 1 year or something like that along those lines. Um, so it's just one in Massachusetts. It's 1 month.
So obviously rent prices were lower back then, still charging the same 1 month. Obviously the cost of living was less as well, so it's all in line with each other. But I would assume then your business back then was focused primarily on volume. Try to rent out as many units as possible, get in front of as many people, many showings, so I can rent as many units as possible and meet my goal, my financial goals there. Some might say now, since rent prices have gone up, there's more meat on the bone there, and more agents have entered, the circle of influence there. Aside from just focusing on volume, which is still on volume, but it's kind of transitioned for now into your close ratio. So just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
getting someone in through the door in an apartment, and doing the best job possible to kind of secure them in there to get an application done, and move them forward. There's
Mm-hmm.
more, I would say, stress on that than there was back in the day, or as it may say the same for you.
Yeah, well, it things things change and evolve. Obviously, things are more expensive today in 2024 than they were in 2016. Have the prices gone up? Yeah, I remember my first few weeks in the office working in 2016. Guys, you know, like the guys have been doing it already like 10 years, saying like, "Oh my God, did you see how much they're getting for?" And they're saying I rented that same apartment for like $700,
Crazy. Yeah,
$800. Now it's renting for $1,500 back
yeah.
then.
Back then,
Now,
right,
and
right.
then now I'm saying, wow, that rented for $1,500, and now it's renting for $2,200.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the amount that rents prices has risen, I think is, um, mind you, I make money from this is what I make. I think the rent prices are too. It's too high. It's too high.
Yeah. And then
I
we don't
don't know.
control it as agents. We're going off the market. So as long as people are paying it, that's what's
Yeah,
going to get charged. So once people stop paying it, then they don't. But
right.
what are you going to do? You're not going to live in a box, right?
And that's what's happening this year. We're finding like kind of sort of like I guess maybe a correction is the right word. I don't know, but 2024 is the first year that we've ever seen so many vacancies go into fall, go into into September, into October, into November. We're seeing a record number. Like the last time you saw this was I wasn't even working. The last time that Boston rentals experienced this. So landlords are kind of scratching their head, like, hey, how come I'm not getting my the prices that I want for the rentals? And I'm like, because maybe it's overpriced, or you know they don't want to hear that. Owners and landlords
Yeah.
do not want to hear it's overpriced. They want to hear, well, specific. There's so many nuances
Yeah.
in the market that like I don't know if there's not enough time.
Obviously, we're in a unique time right now where, since COVID did happen in the year 2020, which is 4 years ago, more people are becoming remote workers now. That's kind of a little bit of the norm. So a lot of people that had to live in the city originally to work in these big corporations are now working remote, and then Pedro's selling them a house over here in Mansfield, Foxborough, rather than having to rent right in the city and walk to work.
Mhm.
So there's been a shift all around. Obviously, rent prices going up, people's work environment changing. Obviously, in a lot of office spaces vacant longer than usual, or for reduced costs or other incentives. So there's a lot of things changing, and obviously, people like you are adapting to everything going on. I know we're running a little on time here. One something I wanted to touch base on is for people looking to kind of join the industry. I think rentals, as far as my experience, working there a year, I think it was a great beginning into real estate. It obviously allows you to get some money in your pocket sooner than you probably would working independently on residential transactions. So that's a great benefit. Get your toes in the water a bit as far as working with different contracts, working with different landlords, different processes, like you mentioned in this call. Every landlord has a different process, on how they do things. So each rental gets you more and more experience. And then, depending on the market that you want to work with, so for example, if you're renting apartments in Boston and you want to sell homes or help you buy homes in that market right there, it could be a great introduction to people to kind of get to know you on the rental side and working with you and seeing how great and professional you are and the results that you provided them. And then, kind of networking with those people and getting them more so into residential transactions. Something I want to touch base on though before we go is people looking to get into this. Would how do you feel about people working a part-time job? So let's say someone watching this right now is working, remote or whatever they have going on, and they kind of want to do this on the side as far as rentals. Would you recommend it? Do you think it has to be full time? What are the pros and cons? Kind of dive in a little bit into that.
We've had a few people like that um, join the office, and they pop in and they're like, I could manage this. I could do this in addition to whatever I do part time. And more times than not, they, you know, I I've out of the 3 or 4 that I've seen come through, doesn't work out. And I'll tell you why. I mean, this is this is an industry where you need to know know it through and through. You need to like there needs at some point you need to like live it, breathe it, consume it. Like it needs to be permeating from your pores. Like you need to be just completely immersed in it for I mean, everybody has like, their learning curve, and everybody has like, I don't know how long it takes you to soak up information. But like even if you have a great memory, and you're really good at like you have a photographic memory, even if you have one of those, things are always changing and adapting. The landlords might get a new property manager. There might be new paperwork. They might have changed the process. The payment systems might have been updated, so now it's a different. So you have to always constantly be up to date with each landlord and what's going on, and like, oh, that building has a new key system, and oh, that owner doesn't have that property manager, or they do things differently. You have to keep your finger on the pulse constantly. So to try to do that part time, especially if you're learning, it would be really tough. What I would recommend, if you eventually want to get part time, you need to immerse yourself full time first. Then once you get adequate or proficient enough, to know what you're doing, then you could scale back and you could do a part-time. Like if I wanted to do this part-time, I've already have enough experience to like kind of figure out how to, and even then, I know I'll be taking my business would be
You'd be
taking a hit.
juggling. You'd be juggling.
Yeah.
And kind of to relate to this, so in any type of sales, there's a little muscle involved in your brain, sales muscle involved in your brain. And for anybody that's worked out, there's a difference between the guy that hits the gym 5 days a week, 2 hours plus each workout, watching the videos, reading up on the stuff, eating the right nutrients when he gets home and all that good stuff, versus the guy that hits the gym once or twice a week. You're not going to get the same result, right? So, and with anything in life, you want to be fully involved, you want to be passionate about it, and you want to dive forward with it. That being said, obviously, nothing's not doable. Winners always win. If you think you're the right person out there watching this right now that can do either rental transactions part-time, rentals part-time, by all means, for sure. But I think that if you involve yourself enough in it, and you're actually passionate about it, my recommendation would be to jump right in. Have your money set aside, so that you're not starving yourself, obviously, or not being able to pay your bills. But dive right in, get connected with the right people so you can fast track your learning and get yourself in a good spot as soon as possible. And grow your business, and then the money will come. If you do the right things every day, you're surrounded by the right people, you're learning consistently every day, the money will come. And if you have something that you're doing elsewhere that's generating you more income than that would, then maybe just kind of pick out your priorities and see what it is that you want to do for yourself.
For sure.
But we'll leave it on that. Thank you so much, Angel. I really, really appreciate you jumping on this call. Great resource for anybody looking to rent in Boston. Angel, where can they find you?
They can email me, angel@lmcrealtyboston.com. They can find a YouTube channel that I'm going to be working on in the near future. So I'm definitely going to be kind of doing, just trying to get out there, kind of what you're doing right now. I hope you don't mind me using this video at some point.
No, we're good. Right.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to post this on like my link. I'm on LinkedIn, just Angel Brito, Boston. My YouTube page is Boston Apartments. So you just type in Boston Apartments and you're going to come right to my channel.
That's a pretty great name.
It's
I'm surprised you secured that, to be honest.
They sent an email out like at some point, like maybe 1 or 2 years ago, saying like, oh, where you have like 2 days or X amount of time to like seal or lock in your YouTube channel handle. And I was like, all right, this is probably not going to work, but let me try it anyway. And then I typed it in, and it was still available, and I locked it in. But that's only for YouTube. There's a website that nobody uses that's called Boston Apartments. Nobody uses it. The guy, it's a great website name, but like
don't go on Boston Apartments.
Don't go.
Get in contact directly with Angel or get in contact with me if you're looking for rental in Boston, and I'm going to connect you with that guy right there, your number one resource. Appreciate you, Angel. Let's have more of these. You're great on camera. I'm sure the viewers are going to love you and want to see more of you. So
awesome.
Appreciate you, bro.
All right, Pedro. Take it easy.